Asco. Good evening, Gary.
Good evening, Mick. How are you? Hope you're well. Looking forward to tonight's show. It's a first for us and really looking forward to it.
Well, I hope we get good lady viewers in this evening. I've been trying to promote it as much as I can. And if there's any ladies listening at the beginning of the show, please get on the phone and let your friends know about us. Because we've got some very interesting guests, haven't we, Gary?
Yeah, we certainly have. You're not wrong.
Would you like to introduce them?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'd love to introduce them. Right,
So a good start.
Danny Lockyer, CEO of the Surrey FA. Kenny Discipline, CEO of the Isthmian League. Michelle Watkins, FA Level 5 County Referee. And Tammy Wayne, Worthing Women Player and Coach. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hope you're all well, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. We're really looking forward to the show with you ladies tonight, women tonight, and we hope it goes really well. Also, we've got a little bit of a bonus tonight. We've got Matt Beard, the manager of West Ham United women football team. He's coming on about 20 minutes before we finish the show. So if you've got any questions for him, put his thinking caps on and get him to ask a few questions to him. So I'd like to I've got a few questions for him, especially for I'm a West Ham supporter, so that'd be quite interesting for me tonight to speak to him. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to go through a little bit of history with you women, so we can, the viewers will, obviously they might know some of you and the man might not know you, so we've got a little bit of information about you, and then we'll ask a couple of questions as well. So we'll start with you, Sally Lockyer. How are you? Hope you're well?
Good. Glad to be on the show tonight.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, you were appointed CEO of Surrey FA in January 2020. You've got a wealth of knowledge and experience spanning 20 years within the sports industry. You used to be the former CEO of the British Athletics Commission. You also held a senior role at the Commonwealth Games, as well as working with Juventus, AC Milan and Fulham. Well, that's a brilliant CV, that, isn't it? I bet you've met a lot of people, and you've really enjoyed those 20 years.
I think we're all really, really lucky that we work in sport. It's an amazing sector to work in. I've been lucky enough to work on 2 Olympic Games, 3 Commonwealth Games, World Cup, and a whole range of other aspects in sport. It's a brilliant, it's not like a job. All of us, I'm sure, on this show love it.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're doing something you really, really, really enjoy. Obviously, I do mean really, really enjoy.
Gary, can I just butt in quickly? Sally, what did you do at these big clubs, Juventus, AC Milan and Fulham?
Yeah, well, I was CEO of a sports marketing agency, and the clients that we had were their brand sponsors, so Lotto and Kappa, and we did all the activation for those brands around the high-profile sponsorship deals that we had. So I was really lucky. I went over to Italy several times where the brands were based, went to AC Milan's training ground, same for Juventus, and even one night played roller hockey with the Juventus players in the owners of Kappa, his apartment. So I think that was pretty special for me.
Wow, and I suspect that you know a few influential people there that might be able to do some decent deals in these hard times for our football clubs, hopefully, like football kits and things like that. Any connections like that?
I hope so.
Sorry, Gary, butted in. Sorry, back to you, mate.
So the couple of questions I've got for you, Sally, but what are your goals and what do you want to achieve in your first year with the Surrey FA?
Oh, that's a good one. I think that, I've got a fantastic team at Surrey FA, and we've got a real opportunity to grow football in Surrey across all of the different areas of the game. We're lucky that we are leading the way as a county. We're agile, we're creative. COVID has obviously given us some challenges, but I think the team have really, really responded well. There's only 6 of us working at the moment. The rest of the team are pretty much been on furlough for the last few months. But I think we've got some real aspirations to grow the sport, not only for men and boys, but particularly I guess I'm who I am, I've got great aspirations to grow the female game. So that's going to be really important for us. I think it's about making sure that we can also look at our revenue stream. So we want more commercial sponsors. We've got opportunities to bring other grant income in. So, you know, we're obviously funded by the FA predominantly. And we want to make sure we can bring in other revenue streams, which I think we can. I'm really lucky at Surrey FA. I've got a ground, and we've got Dorking Wanderers playing at our ground. So we've got opportunities to bring commercial partners in and, you know, activate some of those partnerships and get them playing football on our pitch. So we're very, very ambitious. I know that we're one of the leading counties already in terms of the deliverables for our KPIs that the FA give us. But I want, certainly for this show, I want more women playing, I want more girls playing, I want more female referees and more female coaches out there. And I think the other thing for me that's really important, and I've had a lot of experience in being a non-exec and being on boards, I think it's a great opportunity for women to get out there and join their club committees, get onto different committees and support the game that way. So it's really looking to, you know, grow the volunteer workforce, because, you know, there wouldn't be a game of football without the volunteer workforce.
Very true, very true. Sounds very busy as well.
Yeah.
Right, I noticed you before the pandemic, you wanted to try and bring to host the UEFA Women's Championship in 2021. So, are you still trying to do that, or what?
Yeah, well, obviously, you're talking about the Euros, right?
Yeah, the Euros. Yeah.
So the Euros, just like the men's Euros, have been put back a year. So they'll be staged in 2021. It's a phenomenal opportunity for, you know, football on its own, but also for women's football. You know, when you've got a home Euro, how you can raise the profile of the sport, you know, get so many young girls and watching the game in their home countries. So that's going to be a hugely exciting opportunity for us. I think, you know, you've got some of the biggest stadiums that they'll be playing in. I think finals, semis of Wembley. You know, you've got Old Trafford, Sheffield, Brighton, that sort of thing. So it's going to be an amazing event.
Yeah, what are your chances?
Okay, carry on.
So what are your chances? What are the chances of us getting them?
We've got them.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, we've got
beg your pardon.
Yeah, the Women's Euros will be staged in England in 2022. It was meant to be in 21, but obviously a lot of events have moved back a year. So yeah, it's here and it's coming.
Was a lot of that down to you, Sally? Obviously, you're going to say that you had a team or whatever. I mean,
I don't think I want to take credit for that. I think I'll leave that to the FA and Sue Campbell and the great job that they've done to bring the event to England. It's phenomenal. It's great, and it's great for the Lionesses to play on home soil.
So what part would you have played in that happening? Did you play any part in those? Nothing. No, but could you not utilise, when these teams come across, would they not be able to utilise, say, like Meadowbank, where the Surrey FA are? You know, they probably would need training facilities, these clubs, these countries, when they come across.
Yeah, do you know what, Mick? I hadn't thought of that one.
There you go. Put that one on the list. Kelly, you're listening to that one?
Yeah.
Kent FA, I don't want you two to be rivals or something, but, you know, let's remember, Kent FA, you're flying the flag for them tonight as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sally. We go to you now, Kelly. Do you want to take over, please?
Right. Here we go. We've got Kelly Discipline, who's the Isthmian League CEO. I have to remember that because I just remembered you as the secretary a few years ago, Kelly. I have to keep on remembering that. You're high profile now. But let me read out a little bit of your history. Part of the setup for 9 years and 5 months. Hopefully we got that correct. Also, you're a director of the Kent FA, joining in July 2015. Here we go. And then, basically, here we go. I'm just trying to find the questions. What else have you done? That's it. Thamesmead Secretary as well. So you've done some menial jobs in your time.
I actually started before that, actually. I started with a team called Dearest and Belvedere.
Wow. Okay, good that you've got them on the map tonight. Yeah, good one, Kelly. We like that. So
that's where my football career in administration started. So
right.
in 92, being secretary for it from Belvedere. It started just before that. It just started with me just being at the football club, helping out, just doing odd jobs like bar work, tea work, turnstile, and then I started assisting the secretary, Dave Joy.
How did you get into football? What was it? Did you used to go to football with your dad? How did this all start to get where you are now? Just a quick.
I used to go to Millwall with my dad as a little girl.
Right, okay.
So I'm a Millwall fan. So somebody called do that. So that's where it all started. Obviously, I do try and watch them as much as I can, but I tend to go to Ishmael football. So I was there. I've also been secretary of the conference, or as it is now, National League. So I spent about 6-7 years there with John Moles as the CEO. I was at Ilford Belvedere, went to Thamesmead, and Thamesmead was what led me to becoming a director of the Ishmael League.
But how did you do that? How did it happen? You know, did you just promote yourself into those positions?
No. So the Iris and Belvedere one was quite strange because obviously I really wanted the job and the secretary was putting me forward. But the chairman at the time, it wasn't anything to do with me being a female. He just thought that somebody on his board should do the job because they knew something about football. And the directors at the time just said, well, there's 7 of us sitting around the table. We don't know anything about football and don't want to do the job. And you've got a girl, and he wasn't being disrespectful, but I didn't know anything about football admin, but I wanted to do the job. And that's where it started. So. Well,
it started from there, and obviously you just showed how good you were at doing the job, and that's how you just developed up through the ranks. Because the reason I'm asking this, Kelly, is because we're trying to sort of see where young ladies can progress the same route. There might be young ladies that just like the game of football, that have been dragged along with their dads to a football game, wondering how they can get involved in football, which is generally a man's world, and not particularly just ladies football, but football in general. And you've shown a pathway to where they can get to and progress to in their life, and I think that this is quite a big issue, because I know there's lots of young ladies or young women, I say, that are not so good at sport that want to still have an involvement.
And I think that's the thing, is if you talk about the ladies the women that play football, which obviously those more involved with the women's game would know, is I think when you're at that age and you're playing, you don't really focus on what's going to happen at the end of your career. You're just focused on, I want to be the best footballer. So it's no good trying to talk to those girls in football about what you're going to do if your career fails, because they won't ever be looking at the negatives. They'll focus on the positives, that they're going to make it. So it's looking at people like myself who, though I loved football, I really wasn't sporty. I didn't want to play football. And there wasn't an opportunity at the time that I was at school to do anything else. So it just came about as being in the right place at the right time at English and Belvedere to do a job. So I think really clubs, if they actually look at when they're following their football clubs and they're watching the boys or girls playing, is to look on the sidelines and see the poor brothers and sisters that are being dragged along because they don't want to go there, but they've got nowhere else to go because mum and dad just want to watch their brother and sister play football. And try looking on those ones, because they'll be the kids that aren't any good at sport, and maybe speaking to them, you might be able, they're the ones to pick on and say that these are the opportunities that you can do. You know, do you like media work? Do you like, you might be doing some sort of hospitality thing, so help out in the kitchen at the tea bar behind the bar, get some experience on your CV of doing volunteering.
Well,
I think that's where the opportunities have got to come. I don't think it's picking on the people that are playing football because they're focused on their game. It's looking at the people outside and letting them know what the opportunities are.
Valid points there, Kelly, and that's good, because I'm hoping, and we hopefully will cover it in some of our topics later on in the show, about the initiatives for those type of people to get involved in football, where Sally picked up on volunteers are very important, and Jack Pearson, the FA, has made that comment so many times on other shows, that if it weren't for the volunteers, and we, and there's probably not enough of them. We know there's not enough of them in non-league football and in the women's game as well, that we can encourage them. And if there are big initiatives, and they've got to come from yourselves who are progressing up the ladders like you have, the Surrey FA and the Kent FA, and Tammy at Worthing Ladies promoting that, and Michelle in the referee capacity and secretary that she's been, in promoting these type of people to get involved in non-league football, and where would they need to go to. And me and Gary will hopefully promote that on your behalf after the show. If there's initiatives in different capacities that you want ladies to get involved in, we will try and promote it out there on social media as best we can. So hopefully we're trying to contribute our bit, me and Gary here. I'm going to move on a little bit because I've got another question for you. Now, I know you were talking to Tammy pre-show about, we're talking about this, and yet the Isthmian League hasn't got a women's league, has it? You know, it's got a League Cup, but why hasn't it?
We did try, but unfortunately, it's not a negative thing, but people that run the women's leagues, like so the semi-professional leagues, they're an expert in their field. So we've tried to work with them, and that's why we've got the League Cup. But it's just a capacity to try and run a league competition. You know, we don't want to take that work from established women's league. So that's what they're expert in. It's just about building together and to help. So we've tried to work with some leagues, and that's why we've got our cup established. But obviously for us, we are a men's 11v11, and that's our core business. So we've got the capacity to run a cup, but not actually to run a league. Though if the FA came and asked us to, we would be willing to work and assist in running a women's league.
Interesting. Thank you for that. Not an easy question for you there, but well said. Well done, Kelly. I'm going to hand you back to you, Gary, to introduce our next guest.
Yeah, we've got Michelle Watkins, a referee here. Hi, Michelle.
Hiya.
So you've been refereeing for 8 years now, and you're a Sussex County FA Level 5 referee.
Yes.
Do you referee senior men, or is it ladies, women?
Both.
Men and women?
Yes, and in the Southern combination, which is the senior men's, and I've refereed in FA Women's National Premier.
Wow. Okay. Wow. And it says here you've been promoted 3 times since you started refereeing. So you're obviously a key. You really want to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, I've never really found anything I was good at except this. In my opinion, might not be the opinion of the players, but in my opinion. Yes, so, and I do want to better myself. I've had a huge support base at Sussex County FA where they're really encouraging me to go as far as I can. And I want to go as far as I can until I get too old to do it.
Sure. And what made you want to be a referee? What was the reason? Because all referees and lines people, they take the brunt of everybody, don't they? Everybody think they can do a better job than the person out in the middle.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I had no footballing background until my son wanted to play, and then. I ended up coaching for his youth team, and then in 2008 I became an FA qualified coach, ended up managing his team until under 18, and then after 3 years under 18 I said I don't really want to go into adults, so I want to do something else, but I want to stay in football. And at the time I was the secretary for the youth league, so my son, who had already become a referee at the age of 14, during the under-18 games, it's very hard to get volunteers to run the line. So I ended up running the line and managing. And I thought, well, actually, I quite enjoy running the line. So if he can go down the referee route, so can I. So I did the course and passed on the first time. And I haven't looked back since. So, you know, when I left youth football, I stayed in refereeing. I was still club secretary, and then my son created his own club, adult club, and he asked me to be secretary of that. So now I'm secretary and treasurer of our adult club, AFC Littlehampton.
Yes, women's and men's, or the whole club?
Yes. Yeah, we have 2 men's teams and 1 women's team.
Wow.
Gary, can I just ask a question?
And you got to put it in, and you're a mum, so you know what I mean. There's a lot to be done, isn't there? There's a lot of work as well.
Yes.
Gary, can I ask a question, please? Michelle, what would be some advice to some young ladies or young women that are watching football games like Kelly made mention that want to do refereeing? Because that's paid, I presume. So that's the payment for that, So, and I suspect that you might need more lady referees as well as men doing dual role. But what advice could you give them to get on the pathway to do that? So if there's some young women listening to this show tonight that are sort of sitting there with mum and dad listening, what would you say?
I would say absolutely go for it. I mean, especially in my county FA, they give you so much support and backing and training. Which is really good. We have youth leagues, which for the under 14 and upwards, for the not so confident referees can go for. And then if you are a confident person, at the age of 16, you can start doing adult football. But it is quite daunting because of the things referees get called. Unfortunately, parents and supporters on the sideline can be quite nasty about some of the things they say about referees and young referees. They're training, and that's what puts people off. So it needs to go out to the clubs and the teams to actually get their supporters to one side and say, look, this is a youth player. And I understand that youth players now can get a different coloured armband, or a different coloured shirt to say that they're a youth referee.
That's a good idea. That's a very good idea.
Yeah. So the parents can tell, whether a referee can handle banter or not. There are so many young referees these days that have quit because of comments on the sideline, and it's really horrible to hear. But I would most definitely encourage any young referee, male or female, to go for their course and to start doing football. It really is a great job to do.
I gather maybe both the FAs might well have initiatives as well to promote this. So I suspect Sally and Kelly have got their own views on promoting for referees, young referees indeed. Can I just throw another thing in the mix? Obviously, I see lots of mentors now that go along with young referees to games at men's level. Why is there not mentors that could do young ladies and be almost like a protective cloak around them, particularly if you feel they've got the ability, if you feel there's something special that they can rise up the ranks, that you can protect them a little bit by having that mentor? And I'm talking particularly with the lady refereeing rather than the guys. Is that some sort of initiative maybe you can think of?
In Kent, it's already going on. The same, the ladies and women get treated the same as the men.
Right.
That's right.
So, yeah. So I'm sure that's the same in your county.
In my first year, I was mentored. I had experienced referees turn up to my games and give me advice. And on that advice, I became a better referee. And this is what got me to go through promotion. And they do that. They're very supportive in the county FAs. If you need support, then they're there for you.
Also, I think that they should the league should help the referees. If you're going to referee a game and you're getting a lot of abuse from the supporters, then the manager or that team should be told if they don't curb it, they're going to get points deducted or whatever. And that, I tell you what, that'll soon stop it, in my opinion anyway.
That is a law now. If the supporters are unruly, obviously it's the manager's responsibility to keep them under control. And if he can't keep them under control, then the manager will be booked.
Well, yeah, and even points deducted, and they start dropping down the league, and they've got rowdy supporters. They soon change their way because I love football. I watch a lot of football, and it's the one person. If you don't have a referee, women or man, no matter who it is, we don't have a game, do we?
That's correct.
So you can get called as whatever you want. If you walk away, they're boys, girls, men, whoever, ladies, or whoever aren't playing football. End of.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, the respect campaign that the FA's brought in has been fantastic, and it's helped a lot. But unfortunately, you still get the odd team that can't control their supporters, and the referee now has power to deal with that, which I'm very grateful for.
Sure. Right, the question I've got for you, Michelle, is obviously you just said you would like to get as high as you can. How high can you go? Is there's no limit, or what?
Well, I mean, I'm not a young spring chicken anymore, so I can go as high as my body will let me. I want to currently a level 4 women's referee, and this season I'd like to go for level 3. And then after that, if I want to do level 4 men's or level 2 women's, I then have to go through fitness. So that's where the problem with my age comes into it. So, yes, I could pass the fitness test if I put my mind to it. But yes, I could go. I mean, at the moment I am doing FA Women's National, so level 3 I'm hoping to get on the line for Super League 2 maybe.
Right, okay. And do you get help? I don't know, does it cost money? Do you get help with the money? Do you get help with the course or whatever? Do you get a lot of help refereeing?
Absolutely. I mean, we get observed. We have to do a certain amount of games. We get observed 3 times in those certain amount of games, and we have to hit a certain mark. And if we don't hit it, we don't get promoted. So we have to be on the ball at all times. Sometimes we don't even know we're being observed, although they are obliged to tell us these days.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, well, thank you very much, Michelle. Right, sorry, keep you waiting, Tammy. How are you?
That's all right. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, you're very welcome. Right, so you've had a very successful career, spanning almost 25 years. You started as a centre forward, and as always, you make your way. You're a centre back now, I hear.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Goalkeeper next year, I think.
But using all your experience and understanding of the game, plus I have heard you're quite a vocal player, so that helps the younger players throughout the game. So I don't know how vocal you are.
Did that come from Michelle?
Yeah.
You're not right. And you played for Brighton and Fulham, and your notable career highlights included your time in the USA, and you've been selected for the England squad for a World Cup qualifier against Netherlands. So, wow, that's a really interesting thing you've done there. So, how was America?
America was fantastic. It was 4 years. I originally went out there for 1 year. I was involved with the England national team, and the opportunity to go out to America and train every day was something I couldn't turn down. So the idea was to go out for a year, then come back to England and hopefully carry on with my journey here. But I loved it, and the chance to sort of be on a full scholarship and get my degree and play in a really successful team out in the States. So I ended up staying out there for the full 4 years, and then came back and played for Brighton and Fulham and a few other clubs.
Who were you playing for out in America?
It was Auburn University in Alabama, who are in the Southeastern Conference, so a Division 1 school. But we trained every day. We had strength and conditioning. We flew to games. It was just a different way of life.
Unbelievable. Different world, huh? Different world.
Especially back then, things have changed, obviously, for the better in the women's game as the years have gone on. But back in, that was about, not showing my age now, that was about 98 to 2002. So it was, the chance to go out there and do that was something I couldn't turn down.
And being selected for the England squad, that must have been another great feat as well.
It's my best achievement, but also my biggest regret is the wrong word because I couldn't change it. But unfortunately, I got injured the day before the game, and I think I would have been on the bench for that. And then from then, every time I hit at my highest point in America, I was leading the nation in goals per game. I had shattered all the university records for goals scored, and I wanted to get back in the national team. And then I snapped my cruciate ligament for the first time. Was out for quite a while, and then every time I've kind of got to that point, I've been unfortunate with injuries. If I could have got that one cap, it would have meant the world.
No, definitely, 100%. Yeah, you're not wrong there. Well, yeah. So you're like a player coach for Worthing, are you?
Yeah, so I originally got involved in a sort of coaching capacity. They're my local team, and you get to a point in your life where travelling, and Michelle will know, travelling across the country for games and things, when you've got a full-time job and other commitments, it was hard. So dropping down to my local team and trying to help them gain promotion. I helped a little bit on the coaching side with a view to, do I want to play, and that's no disrespect, do I want to play at that level, or do I want to kind of coach at that level? And I really enjoyed it. We managed to recruit a lot of players. So again, I focused more on the playing, but stepped in and coached, because I'm a qualified coach as well. Stepped in and coached numerous sessions and threw a few killer fitness sessions in as well, just for good measure.
Right, so obviously once you stop playing, whenever that will be, would you like to go to become a manager, and is or just a coach, or is it easy? Is it can you get to become a manager? Is it easy to become a manager, or is there no club, or not many clubs out there where you could be a manager?
No, there are opportunities to get involved in coaching and managing. It's for those players that kind of, having been in the game a long time, that know me, it's a bit of an ongoing joke now where I go, yeah, one more season. So I'm going to play one more season and then kind of go from there. But I was involved with Brighton when they had their Centre of Excellence. I was involved as a coach there. I've coached for the FA in some of their elite performance camps and things. So I love coaching. But it was that, do I focus on my coaching, and in order to sort of progress up the coaching ladder, I probably needed to retire. And I just wasn't ready to play, having been a Tammy the footballer all my life. I'm probably going to need counselling for this, but to not be Tammy the footballer anymore is a strange thing to face, and I'm not ready to do that yet.
Tammy, can I ask a question? Gary, sorry, I need to button in. Sorry.
Would you just want to coach women, or you want to do men as well? What's your thoughts?
I enjoy coaching women and girls. I'm lucky enough now. We've recruited, and again, this is going to show my age, a lot of my current teammates are players I coached at under 10, under 12. I've got some of the first ever players I coached I'm now teammates with, and to be that role model, hopefully put an arm around the shoulder and help them along in their playing journey is something I really enjoy, and I think the women's game needs female role models.
100%. Go on, Mick. Sorry,
yeah,
mate.
That's all right, mate. Thank you. Just quickly, Tammy, I mean, do you think that we do enough? Obviously, I see a lot of women go out to America doing scholarships. Well, why aren't we doing enough in this country on that part as well, so they don't have to go to America to do a scholarship? Why don't we do more scholarships in this country for a start? And so, this is a double-edged sword. It's two difficult questions here. Firstly, that. Secondly, do you ever think a lady will ever manage a men's team in this country?
I'll answer the second question first. Yeah, I do think it will be. We will get to a point where a female will manage at a high level, but it's going to take a change of mindset, and that's mindset for clubs, boards, fans, and also players as well. But we've got a lot of highly qualified female coaches in the game. If they've got a comparable qualification to a man, then why not? It should be the quality of the coach as opposed to male or female, and I'm a big believer in that. Don't give a woman a job just because they're a woman. Give them the job because they're good enough, and vice versa. I'm a really big believer.
Is that purely down to boards and members of football clubs that can only change that? Can the FA governing body do something that would, or even at county level, is there something they could particularly do to try and make this happen? Because once one happens, more might well happen. And we all talk about equality in the game, and there don't seem to be an equality in ladies managing men's team. There's going to be a few guys listening to it scorning me big time. But, it's fact, is it not?
There are a few coaches in other countries who are coaching very, very high up in the men's game. Probably not at Premiership kind of level, but there are a couple. And if anyone knows who they are, they can shout it out. But there's definitely a couple. We have some really, really good coaches, but not all females want to go and coach the men's game. You're kind of it's kind of inferring that that's every female coach's kind of aspiration is to coach in the men's game. But for a lot of us, we enjoy seeing the girls and the females develop and to get to the top of WSL or coaching the Super League or the English national team. But it's only about coaching. Don't women want to manage? Yeah, and when we have some really good managers around, but again, not all female the managers at that level want to get involved in the men's game. Because you think they'd be given lack of respect, you think? That reason? No, I think a lot of women that are involved in the women's game love the women's game.
Oh,
and
okay.
Money isn't... the money in the men's game, it would be great, and I'm sure we'd all love to be earning those sorts of salaries, but it's not everyone's aspiration because, we've progressed through the system. I don't know, there's a bit of a camaraderie, and I personally really enjoy working in the women's game.
I agree. I do agree with that. Do you feel like some of the ex-professional footballers that are on Match of the Day or BT Sport, have they, well, I'm going to put it out there, have they sold out? Could they be doing more for the women's game?
No, I know a few of them, and I played with Sue Smith when I was involved with the England team, and they're lovely people, and they haven't sold out. They've taken an opportunity that has been given to them, and they've grasped it, and they're doing really, really well with that. There's also female commentators commentating on the female WSL and things like that. So they haven't sold out. They've just been given an opportunity, and they've embraced it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, listen, I thought that was a good bit about all the different journeys that you women have taken in sport, and I think, well, I found it very interesting. I hope everyone else has. So we'll start our topics now. So our first topic is going to be about, I know it might sound a bit boring, the coronavirus, and the men's league in the non-league football have helped out from the FA. Quite a bit of money's come down. I know some people they still believe there should be more money coming down from the FA to help non-league teams. And is there enough being done for the women's league for the coronavirus? Anyone can start on that.
I can't answer that. I've only dealt with the men's game, so I wouldn't unfortunately know what's being done in the women's game.
Anyone else got a...
Sally, can you...
I can give you a bit of a steer on what's happened at a county level. And COVID is so challenging for everybody. It's the first that so many things that we're going through, whether it's the FA or the county FA, we've never experienced anything like this. So from a county perspective, it was important for us to be able to support clubs and leagues and referees and coaches. But in Surrey, there's been a significant amount of money through various different funds that have actually gone through into the club network to keep the clubs afloat and give them some financial assistance. And that's been made possible, one, by the Surrey FA board. We supported clubs through the financial assistance, money from the FA, money from Sport England, the COVID fund, and various different funds from the Football Foundation. So in total, I think we're somewhere around 750,000. So £750,000 that's gone into Surrey clubs.
Wow.
To support clubs over the COVID period. So it's hit us as a county. Obviously, all our revenue streams dried up pretty much, and our ground closed, so the revenue stream dried up there. But it's the same for clubs. So I think football felt that to put as much money as they could through into the club network is the best way to support players and clubs to get financial assistance and help get them through this difficult time.
Sally, how would they go about that? How would they go about getting that money from you? You've just said that. I'm sure there's a few people from different football clubs, women football clubs particularly, which is because the show's about women football clubs more than anything else. How would they go about going to the Surrey FA to get that money? Is that the route they go?
Indirectly, so we decided at the start of COVID that we, with some support from the FA, that we would make our affiliation fees for clubs this year free, and it was free to enter this season's County Cup. So that's obviously quite a big revenue stream for us, and thank you to the FA for giving us all the counties some funding so that we could do that. In terms of the other grants that have been available, that they were directly, say, from Sport England. That was an emergency fund, but I think part of our role was to make sure that was communicated to all clubs as quickly as possible, because it was time bound, and then the clubs would go directly to the Sport England website and they go through the grant process there. And similarly with football foundations, so there was some grant money to get your pitch prepared and then actually get your clubhouse ready and prepared for the start of football with all the different things that you have to do at the club now with all the protections and everything else you need to put in place. And again, that went through the football foundation. So some of it was from us. But the lion's share of the money obviously came from FA, Sport England and Football Foundation.
Is there any money still left in the kitty at Surrey FA for clubs that might have been late in doing that?
Well, I think we have opportunities to try and support players that get into difficulty through our benevolent fund. So Surrey FA is actually a charity, and that's not widely known. So we do have a benevolent fund. When we gave our clubs the opportunity to affiliate for free, many of them actually donated sums to the benevolent fund. So that's there to support players that have a difficult time, or they may have terrible injury, or referees and coaches. I think it's everyone's going through various different scenarios in this COVID crisis. So if our role, I think, is just when those funds do come available, just make sure everybody knows. So we'll email clubs, we get it all on our website and our social media, and we actually started to run some club phone-ins, so they could ring us up and come on a webinar a bit like this, and they could talk to all the senior management team. We did that very quickly, and clubs are really grateful for that. So that's how we were able, I think, to support clubs.
So, sorry, is that at the end of all that, is there money to give to the clubs?
At this point, there's nothing directly else that's available, but I think when you get to £750,000, that's quite a significant sum.
That's not a trick question, Sally. It's just a fact. I didn't want everyone ringing you up on Monday morning. And so, it's a good initiative, so I'm going to pat you on the back for that. And Kent FA, I'll make you aware of that. I'm sure you're doing the same, Kelly.
I think, Nick, you have to say it is the counties, but I think the FA as well have to take some thanks for this, because they were the ones promoting all the opportunities to leagues and counties. As a league, we got loads of information from them, and I know from the counties they did. So the information came out from them, all the grants that were available. So it was down to the clubs to read the memos that came from leagues and counties and take advantage of all those opportunities.
Yeah,
what about refereeing? What about refereeing, Misha? Have you had a lot of good feedback for the referees?
Well, I haven't had any feedback, to be quite honest with you, because when everything stopped playing, we kind of all stopped refereeing. We haven't been given. We've been given a guideline as to when we can go back and what we need to do for COVID-19, but we haven't received any monetary support, if that's what you mean.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, tell me, what about yourself? Sorry.
It is difficult because it mainly involved teams. A referee revolves around team football, so it was the question was directed at Sussex, Surrey FA, and all the other county FAs and players and teams. Because it affects those more. It affects me because I can't referee. It's the teams and the clubs that are more important.
Well, that's why I asked, because it's mainly it was pushed towards the players, the teams, and obviously, referees as well. They're still important. And, again, going back to what I said, if the referee's not around, then the games won't start. So that was just the reason I asked that question.
Well, what I'd like to know is from Sally is I understand that the Football Foundation was sending money down to clubs that had like county grounds, clubhouses and pitches. What about the grassroots clubs that have to rent pitches and that don't have clubhouses? Did they receive any help?
Yeah, I think that's why, early doors, we decided at Surrey that, as I said earlier, the best thing we could do would be to funnel some funds into the clubs, whatever type of club that they are. And the easiest way for us to do that was to top up some of the grant that we got from the FA. So that's what we did, and that's how we felt, because we've obviously been hit just as much as everybody else has. That if there is something that we could do tangible relatively quickly, that would be probably the most effective thing that we could do to keep some money into clubs.
I think what you've done as a county FA by allowing them free affiliation is absolutely fantastic, because I know it costs hundreds to affiliate a club and teams. With grassroots football, they rely on handouts, sponsors to succeed throughout the season. So you giving them the affiliation is absolutely fantastic, and giving them that money to keep so they can carry on playing and renting. Well done you.
Tammy, have you from Worthing? Have you had any help from Worthing? Like obviously from the men's down to the women's.
I think unfortunately COVID's kind of affected the women's team in a number of ways. The first one was that we just gained enough points for promotion, and we were playing 14, 1-14, and we'd thrown everything into getting to promotion, recruited a lot of players that have dropped down levels in order to progress us into that next league. And then the league was announced void. So we're now having to start again this season, which is quite a challenge in itself to kind of go again when we were doing quite well. Then on the other side of it, the men's team have been impacted because they've lost revenue. So unfortunately our budget is zero this year. So we are now having to, like a lot of other clubs, is to try and find the budget. And businesses are struggling, so that big sponsor that every team's probably craving is harder to find. So and a lot of the teams are having to be innovative now in raising funds, and I've never seen so many social media campaigns, raffles, scratch cards, with clubs trying to raise the money that they need to survive without the players ultimately the players' parents or relatives kind of having to find that money to finance, what's needed to be successful, and things, like physio and minibuses to games and things. That all comes at a cost, and there just isn't the big sponsor that everyone wants. But that's definitely been affected by COVID. Is teams are struggling, and like I say, the social media campaigns are rife on with players selling tickets and things to try and raise money.
Sure. Well, that takes us lovely onto our next topic, really, about money in women's sport. Should wages for women, not only football, but all sports, they definitely should be equal with men. I do realise women have to pay to play football for some teams. It's unbelievable. They have to pay to play football when men get their wages. They earn in non-league football I'm talking about. Some players earn great money, good wages, and the women have to pay to play. Lewis, we talk about Lewis FC. They got an equal budget. Both the men and the women have an equal budget. They can equal it out, pay whoever they want to pay, but it's equal. And that's been going on for 3 years now, I believe. And no, there's not another club, I'm not sure, I might be wrong, in the world has done the same, which is unbelievable.
Gary, can we just open that up into equality in football as opposed to just wages? Equality into the whole football game.
About equality, I just can't get my head around it sometimes, you know. And I know men, some of them do get paid more than the women. I appreciate that, and the women are just coming up or whatever. But at the end of the day, Tammy, you're a good example. You've been to the USA. You've been selected for the England squad, things like that. You know, why can't you be earning a good wage as a non-league footballer? I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
I think I was lucky to be part of Lewis when they started the equality kind of campaign, and I think it was the first in the world to have that equal budget for the men's and the women's side. So to be a part of that campaign and see the work that went on behind the scenes and the media campaign and stuff, you know, some great people did a lot of work behind that. Now the reality is not all clubs will have, number one, the resources, not money resources, but actually the people to drive a campaign like that. But then there is also the money behind it. You know, it's a significant amount of money to find. And you know, a lot of clubs will not be able to generate that sort of income to be able to do that.
Can I ask both the FA ladies, Gary, what's the initiatives from both of yourselves, from the Kent FA or the Isthmian League from you, Kelly, and Sally from the Surrey FA? What things have you got coming out, initiatives, let's say, to get equality back into the game? And I'll add a little bit more onto finance differences. You could say that guys get preferential training facilities, and you could go on and on and on. And so what are the county FAs trying to do to try and equal this out?
I don't think they can equal wages out, because I don't think they have really a say in what clubs do with their finances. So I don't know if Sally agrees there, but I don't really think counties can dictate to clubs. In an ideal world, it'd be lovely if we all got paid equal for doing the same jobs, but I don't see how counties or leagues can enforce that.
Not enforce it, but they could give something out as an initiative of some sort, you know, making their feelings known that they would like equality in the game more than what it is at the minute, you know, just so that the county FAs are showing indifferences between the men's game and the women's game. So basically, you're pushing out, both yourself and Sally. I know you're not head of Kent County, but obviously Denise is, and you know, another woman, another lady, that you know you would think that you would want to try and put that out into the general domain to everyone to see. You know, if you don't say nothing, nothing will happen.
I'm not saying it isn't saying nothing, but as you pointed out, Nick, the Kent FA have got their first female chair lady, who was appointed on Wednesday, so I'm really pleased for Denise on that appointment. I think it's a great achievement, and I think there'll be things that will be changing in Kent, because she's very into sort of equality and diversity, and it won't just be about the men's game, it will be about all sorts of football. And every county as well has got their equality and diversity officer, so there is a lot of support in equality and diversity across the game in county FAs.
Is there?
Sorry to interrupt. Do you think if more, it might be an obvious question, but if more women and young ladies started to play football and there was a bigger number playing, then things would change? Obviously, that would happen. That's just automatically would happen.
What do you mean? Getting paid the same, or increasing numbers?
No. Now forget about the payment now. It's just about if women and young ladies played football or any sport more, and then we've got more teams involved, then things might change. You know, they might be, because obviously women they get trained. I heard that some women have to train at horrible times, or the worst times, because all the men's teams are training at the good time. So the women have to train. I don't know what, Tammy probably know better than me. They might have to train at 9:30 at night or 9 o'clock at night when the men have all done, and they're on their way home. You know, what I'm saying is, if more women took up sport and there was more teams, then obviously things would change, hopefully, for the better.
I think things are changing now. I can only talk obviously from administration, what I do, and I think over the years things have changed. There are more females coming into administration roles, certainly from when I first started. But the thing is, and it's like Sally said at the start, we love our jobs, and when you're in a job that you love, you're not going to leave it, so there's not going to be opportunities for people to come through. And now we all have to work a lot longer until we're a lot older. Again, we're probably clogging up some of those jobs that are out there for the younger generation to come through, but there are more opportunities now.
Do you think that men will look at both yourselves as leaders of your respective leagues and County FA, that you might be a bit more pushing towards ladies and women? Are you a bit more mindful of not doing overly too much that way, you know, just because you are ladies high up within the game? Are you a bit conscious that the guys are looking at you thinking, hold up, that she's preferencing the ladies game a little bit more, and that? Do you feel any?
I've got to jump in now. I'm just busting to say something now.
Go for it, Sally. I knew you might. I started them, Gary. Here we go.
All right, let's start and give it some perspective. You know, if you look at a top Premier League player, probably makes something in the region of £4 million a year, there or thereabouts, and this is all reported. If you look at a top Women's Super League player, what do you think she might earn? Have a go.
Got the grand?
Yeah.
A year? No, not a year. 250,000 a year. No?
Go on.
100,000 a year. 50,000.
Keep going.
30.
You're probably somewhere there or thereabouts. You know, let's take those numbers again. Somewhere around 35,000. You know, I don't know salaries exactly, but it's reported. And then, you know, top Premier League player, £4 million. So we've got quite a long way to go.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
But then you start to look back in terms of, you know, how did all this kind of come about? And you go back to the 20s when, you know, women were playing football and they were, you know, playing in front of, you know, crowds of 50, 60,000 back in the 20s. And then, lo and behold, the women's game got banned from the FA playing on FA grounds. So it wasn't, you know, and then it was until the 70s before that ban was lifted. So you've got quite a long way to go to change history, and it is going to be a bit of a slow burner. But, you know, roll on another 50 years to where we are now, from the 70s to where we are now. You look at this amazing success of the Lionesses. You know, they're semi-finalists of the World Cup. 6, I think they are in the FIFA rankings. There's often an argument from the media that nobody wants to watch women's football or read about it. That's why it's hardly ever on the back pages of the papers. But actually, you know, the England versus Germany game at Wembley, women got a crowd of 78,000. And the England versus USA game in the semi-finals of the World Cup got almost 12 million viewers. Now that's bigger than EastEnders. So it does have interest. People do want to see it. They want to play it, and they want to watch it. So it's on a trajectory. But I think everybody in football, me included, you know, has the opportunity to start making a stand in this. And what I noticed in January when I came into football, having worked in a number of other sports, is I was walking into rooms where I was the only woman in the room again, and I thought we were past all of that, but we're not. So we still have work to do. And when you think about you know, good governance and how do you run an organisation, whether it's a club or it's a county, you know, we're going through good governance code now from the FA. So we are expected to have a balanced board, not just men and women, but BAME as well. And the reason for that is you get a better outcome. You get a better discussion, you get better decisions, you get a more successful company. So that's where it sort of starts at the top. You've got to get your governance piece right. And then if I drill down a little bit further into, you know, our participation in Surrey, so we've got 56,000 male players. We've got 4,500 female players, and we've doubled the number of female players that we have in the last couple of years. So we've got a long way to go, and so there are opportunities. And if you go down, referees, coaches, it's the same thing. But I remember when I first started, we had a level 1 women's coaching course, and I walked past the room and I thought, what are all these women doing in our building? And so I banged on the door and said, what's this? And it was a level 1. And I went in and I spoke to them about, why it's really, really important that we get more women coaches and referees, etc. And we did some research at the end of that. 90%, and they haven't even finished the course, 90% said they wanted to go on to being a level 2 coach. So you're right when you talked at the beginning about, if you had a room full of men and a couple of women in a coaching course, would they feel like they're part of it? Would they feel comfortable? Maybe, maybe not. But put them in a room like that, and 90% want to be level 2 coaches.
Can I butt in now? Sorry, Gary, we've got Matt Beard, West Ham United Women's Football Club manager. I'll say it correctly on that. I've had him hanging on for a long time. So, hello, Matty. Are you there? Can you hear us loud and clear?
I can, Mick. How are you, mate? You okay?
I'm all right. Can you hear Matty?
Yes.
Yeah, they can hear you loud and clear. We've been talking all things women's football here, Matt. And there's some big opinions. I think a lot of them think that a lot of your top ladies are on big money, and maybe they can pass it down a bit to the lesser group of ladies that are playing football, or women that are playing football. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I've not heard the whole conversation, so I can't really comment on what was said. It depends on what content was in, I just think from...
Just to clarify, we didn't say that,
Matt. No, I'm picking it up. Yeah, sorry, I'm just having it, but it doesn't matter. My opinion is as well. I'm saying my opinion, Matt. There is money in the Premiership level, which you're manager of. Do you not think that maybe some of that level? We talk about the men's level trying to pass money down into the lower reaches of the men's game. Do you think that should happen from the ladies' game or women's game?
Well, our league a year and a half after didn't get to finish the second season, so we was reliant on the Premier League money to go back to pre-season and for the testing. I think if you look at some of the professional clubs at League 1, League 2, didn't want to pay for that. So I think if you look at the numbers and you look at how many people have been testing, rather than our club stepping in, I think it's probably got to be the government really more so than us, But we're 5 weeks into pre-season now, and I think out of all the clubs in the Championship and the Super League, there's only been one positive test, so fingers crossed that continues.
We've been talking about equality in the game, in all honesty. Sorry to throw you with a big one like that, Matt. I threw you a little bit, and I threw the ladies on here as well. So I wanted to liven the conversation up a little bit. But basically, I mean, equality in football, what do you think? Is there equality within the men and ladies game, do you think?
The women's game has grown over the years, I've been lucky enough to be here in the WSL and go to America, where you can see them fighting for equal pay, and I completely get it. I think, personally, we've all got we can't run before we can walk. Our game is growing year on year. I mean, you've got to look at Chelsea's attendances. We went from, my first year as manager at West Ham, I think averaging 900 to nearly 1,400 last year. So it's a game that's growing. But we all have to be sensible and understand it's going to take time to grow. I mean, you've only got to look at the Premier League as an example of where it was when it started and where it is now. And I think this pandemic has maybe not just our football, but the men's football. You look at League 1 and League 2 to go to the Gallery Cup, etc. I think it's been a bit of a reality check for everyone.
Thank you.
Matt, it's Gary Pascoe here, Matt. Can you hear me, Matt?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I can, just about.
Yeah. what made you go into the women's football then? Why did you go down that route?
Well, I was in Australia. My coach educator that done my level 2 and my B licence was Keith Bonus. We had a good relationship. I was in Australia and I invited Keith we invited Keith and Kofi out, and he was at Cheltenham at the time, and when I had to come back, Keith gave me the opportunity, and that was my first taste of women's football. And unfortunately the men got relegated, so where we're talking about equality here, you know, the men got relegated and our team got disbanded. So I come out of the women's game for a couple of years. I worked for Millwall in the Boys Academy. And then Keith actually asked me to go to help him out, well, not help him out at Millwall, but he got the Estonia job. And so I took over to the end of that season, and it went from there, really. So just maybe that's right place at the right time.
Sure. One of our topics we were going to talk about, and I would like to bring the women back in now as well. Now, women coaches, is there enough? Well, there can never be enough, but is there enough women coaches out there? And are young women, young ladies from like 5 to 10 year olds, are they getting coached properly within the game? Are there enough women, or how? I know you can't give me figures, you guys, but are women coming into the game as coaches now?
Yeah, listen, it's the fastest growing sport. You've only got to look at the Wildcats program that the FA put in place. It's, you know, they're going to be putting in another program in place now, but it's growing all the time. And I think when we talk about female coaches, and I just caught the end of the conversation about, you know, females been on courses with males, and I completely understand and get I didn't hear who was talking, sorry, but where that was coming from. But I think if you look now, you've got a lot of players, especially the England players, that have been full-time professionals, whether it's on an England central contract or at club football now. You know, that will be our next generation of first-team coaches and head coaches. And, you know, I think that's the right path for them to go, and I think it's the right path for the women's game to go.
So you guys, I'm talking to the women now. So there's opportunities for women to speak out. As you said, Sally, you just went in the classroom with I can't remember what the number was. It was a classroom for the ladies, women wanting to be coaches. So we were saying about women-only courses. So they do that then.
I believe the FA do women-only courses. I've certainly seen it, but I also think it's important to remember. Like I've been involved in, you know, the women's game for 16 seasons now, and you know, if you go back to my Chelsea days, it was probably costing me money. So I think collectively across the board, I think there's a lot of people that have dedicated their time to the female game to not only develop players but help develop coaches as they you know, come into the game on the coaching front. And you know, I'm a big believer in, you know, I've had loads of people contact me, whether it's through LinkedIn or Twitter, to try and give them opportunities. It's a little bit difficult at the moment, as I said, with the pandemic that we're going through, because it's like a closed door just for the bubble that we're in. But for me, it's important that you give. I remember where I come from, so it's important that I give people opportunities to come in and see the environment and you know, and work with them, whether you call it as a mentor or whether I'm at the end of the phone or a text message, whatever way you want to look at it.
That's fantastic. Are you tied in with the Essex FA, being that West Ham's that neck of the woods? Because obviously we've got Sally and Kelly here that are from Kent and Surrey FA. Should you think that, would you not have a tie-up with all different FAs where you could maybe send your football players out to help in the lower game as such, to encourage more women to become footballers and become coaches and become referees and all those sort of things, Matt?
I'm not too sure. That's not really my domain bit, if I'm honest with you. But I know, you know, especially the foundation that we work with the local community. So, but really, that would be one for the club rather than me to answer sort of that question.
Okay, fair enough. Gary?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Has any of the women got any questions? Any questions to Matt? Anyone? Tammy, have you got anyone? A question? Anyone? Any topics? Anything else?
Matt, I was just curious, having been into the States myself, and you obviously have a vast experience of the English and USA game. Take the sort of the top league out of it. How do you feel kind of the comparison between the English and the American game is now? Obviously, America focuses a lot on their collegiate university system, whereas we have a far better club structure. But we're still losing, or a lot of our younger players are going over to the States. How do you compare kind of the English and the USA kind of appeal to those younger players coming through the system?
Yeah, I'll start with the college thing. I think the college football isn't good enough for our top English players. The stand, if you look now, you've got Jesse Fleming, you've had now Pugh that have left the college level to turn professional. And we've had plenty of players that have gone over to the Youth England internationals. Look, listen, they're getting a free education, so you can't blame them for doing that. But I've known a lot of players that have come back because it's not what they expected. With regards to our youth system, I think it changes too much for me. I think the first thing is we need to try and get protection for the young players. When I was at Liverpool, we picked a lot of players from Everton, and we it didn't cost us anything because they were under 18, and you just see the girl Robertson leave Bristol, that's been there all her life, and go to Brighton with no compensation. So I think that needs to be looked at. I think the WSL Academy was probably thrown upon us too soon when we're just starting a professional league. And I think we need to try and get that balance right and understand where the FA are coming from with what they're trying to do. But listen, a lot of that was trial and error. With regards to the standards on the NWSL to the FAWSL, I think probably now our league tactically is more astute. I think it'd be interesting to see if it's true what's rumoured about some of the American players coming over. It'd be interesting to see how they do over here, where you've got very good players and teams that tactically are quite clever in comparison to the transitional game in America. My time in America taught me so much, one, about myself, and two, about another style of football. It was so transitional, but it was about the athlete over there. I was so surprised when I got to Boston, the lack of support staff that you had, not just at our club, but just in general in the NWSL, and I think they're still playing catch up. The MLS clubs that are now coming in, they've got probably better facilities and setups with regards to that, and it has moved on. But it'd be interesting just to see what happens over the next couple of years, because you've got a lot of players that want to come across, but there's not enough teams in the American League. But you've got a couple of franchises going in there now, so it'd be interesting to see what happens.
We've got a referee with us tonight, Matt. We've got Michelle, she's a referee. So how are you finding women refereeing? I was just asking Matt the question about women referees and
Who's that, Gary?
Yeah, Gary's put you on the spot. Go for it, Matt.
Yeah, it's opportunities, and the best thing I can say to you is look at the good press that Charlotte Massey's getting at the moment. Never gets a decision wrong. I've seen a lot of stuff with regards to her. They just need opportunities, and if you go back to female coaches, it's about getting opportunities. It's about learning. We all start somewhere, and as I say, I've worked at a low level in non-league, and I've worked my way up to where I am now. And it's just about taking opportunities when they're offered to you. And when Keith gave me the opportunity to work at Cheltenham, one, he was a fantastic coach educator, and I learned so much from him. So for me, it was a great move, and it's probably set me up to be who I am now.
What's the bit? So is that if it was a young lady or young woman? I keep saying lady and women. I know you want it to be referenced women, Matty, but basically, young ladies, young women, young whatever. If they're listening to us tonight and they want to progress to become a professional footballer or a referee, look, you've been there, you've been down the bottom. I remember you well playing sort of at non-league level and where you've got to. So give them a bit of advice. How do they get up to that? What's the pathway, mate?
Well, listen, 2 years ago there wasn't a professional league. When I was at Liverpool, we was the first team that really went professional. Then a few others, obviously Man City coming to league and they followed too. So if you look at a lot of female sports now, you've got netball on Sky Sports, you've got professional league now with the WSL, and you've now got Leicester, and you've got Liverpool that falls on the division below. But there are careers now in the game, and if you look at when we go back to the American thing, a lot of players went to college to get their education, but now they're foregoing college and they're going into the pro league. And listen, it's one of the things. It's been great to see the growth of the game. But what I will ever say to anyone is, don't be frightened to ask questions. Don't be frightened to, so I get a lot of people message me through different avenues. Don't be frightened to do that. But on your basis, if it's something that you love, I love my job, I go in every day. Well, most days I'm happy. But just grasp the opportunities, take chances, take risks, and just do what you love, more importantly.
We really appreciate you coming on the show. If you want to just sit tight, because we got another topic to get to. We're coming near the end of the show time-wise, Gary. We've got another topic we can slip in tonight.
Well, we've got the leadership courses. Is there enough being done for women in non-league football, in the men's and women and men leagues? And are there enough roles in the game for women? I think we might have covered a few of those during the evening. But, that's the question. Is there enough being done?
Are we repeating ourselves a little bit here? I don't know if we are, but basically, Matty, we've got 4 ladies here listening as well, and basically all have been successful in their own right, and that's why we've done the show tonight. We want to sort of pursue these youngsters that want to go further in the game, whether it's just a volunteer role and try and work their way up the ladder. And as I say, that's another reason why I asked you on, Matty, because you've been down there and you've gone to where you are now, and some of the 4 ladies that we got on the show here tonight. So it can be done. We just want to try and push it out there to all these young footballing clubs that are out there listening tonight. How do they go forward and push forward? Forget about the virus thing, which I know is massive at the minute, but we want to show them the pathway, how they go forward and progress.
I think there's a couple of things, Nick. You saw Shelley working the men's game in Scotland, who's now the women's national team manager. You've just seen Holland are now trialling, albeit sort of, I think it's Division 3 or Division 4, women actually playing and competing with the men. The most important thing is that you put yourself out there. You apply for jobs, or you want to go in and volunteer somewhere so you can have a look. And like I said, in my time, I have, as best I can, obviously I can't accommodate everyone, but you try to give people opportunities. And I know in my house at Chelsea has done that, where she sort of put out, I think she had something like over 50 odd people wanting to get her to be a mentor and go in and watch Chelsea training and stuff like that. You just got to put yourself out there. And you know that better than anyone. You've worked, you've had a good career in the non-league game, and unless you put yourself out there, then you're not going to get the opportunities. And whether it's men's football, women's football, the advice is the same. Just watch games, go on your courses, volunteer if that's what you need to do at the start. Because 9 times out of 10, I think we all know football is, at the moment, probably who you know. And that's sometimes how you've got opportunities. But that's why it's so important for people to basically give up their time and put themselves out there.
Well, I'm a bit of a stereotype.
It was just touching on a point about the equality thing, and it isn't just about salaries, which it'd be great to earn a fortune, but it was more what the clubs could be doing to support their women's teams more, and things like if they're negotiating for a sponsor for their own shirts, well, can they negotiate for the sponsor for the women's and do it as a package. If you're doing social media and web design, can that be done for women as well? There's a lot of things that could be done which don't cost kind of money. It's just being a bit more innovative. And you mentioned earlier about the women getting given the graveyard shifts for training, and unfortunately that still does happen. And so it would be a nice, equality, that word. It would be great. It's not just about money. It would be about getting a decent training slot on a decent night of the week and having the same kind of social media support and things like that. Those things don't cost money.
No, I agree. I think at my time at Liverpool, that was one thing that really frustrated me. There'd be commercial deals done, and we were being probably added in as a gesture. I mean, we wouldn't get anything. We was told that you're getting the budget from the club anyway. I think a lot of clubs have probably gone away from that. At the top level, it's only just begun, so it's going to be a process. It's going to take time, and I think if we go back to the comment I said earlier about the grassroots stuff, and especially with what we're going through at the moment, that's where the government maybe need to step in and help out with maybe the lower level, because we're only a year and a half into it. I'm very lucky at West Ham that we've got great infrastructure, but we're not going to run before we can walk, and I've said that a lot of times tonight, but it's important for me that we get the right infrastructure, which will then hopefully attract the players, and then in the future make us a team that can compete to win trophies. But it's tough when you've got teams like Everton, Man City and Chelsea spending the money that they're spending. But it'd be great to see this generation of players that maybe are coming to the end of their careers that then become the head coaches or academy head coaches, and I think that's the way the game will go probably in the next 5 to 10 years.
Gary, I think we're knocking on a bit. We're over 9 o'clock, so I think we're going to have to wrap the show up in a minute. What I'd like to do is just go round every one of you individually to make your last comments on what you feel will help equality and in the game particularly, and your feelings about tonight's show. And we'll start with you, Sally.
In the hot seat, crikey. I think that there's never been a more exciting, time for women's football. There's a lot going for it. There's a lot going on. There's so much progress that's been made. I think it's right that it takes it's time to get everything right, and I applaud the FA for everything that they've done with women's football. And it's got to go right across the whole of the game. It doesn't matter whether it's in a local club or it's at the Premiership club. Just as we've just talked about, think about all those different areas of how you can actually make a difference and take responsibility for it.
Thank you very much, Sally. Great speech like that. Kelly?
I just want to see things carrying on growing the way that they have done. Because for me, in the years that I've been in football, I've certainly seen a great process in women coming into games. And obviously my background is administration, so I've seen a big growth in that. I can't comment on sort of players and coaches, but certainly on administration, and that's just not sort of your paperwork, media, website people. So just getting the word out there to the ladies, women out there, that there is opportunities. If you're not a good footballer, don't let that worry you. There's other doors in to being involved in game football that you love. And just take the opportunity and don't be frightened to volunteer first. You've got to, I believe you've got to do the volunteering first, get that on your CV, and that will help you.
Thank you, Kelly. Excellent. And now to you, Michelle. You're on your soapbox parading for the referees, the lady referees. Come on, sell the lady referees.
Well, I mean, I agree with Kelly and Sally. There's bags of opportunity for young, old, women, ladies to get into the football, and you don't have to be a footballer. I'm not. I was never a footballer. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I'm into admin, club admin. I'm into refereeing, and if that's what you want to do, I mean, women's football is more popular now than it's ever been, and it's so easy to get into with your county FA. And if that's what you want to do, then they are going to back you all the way and give you all the support that you need in coaching, in refereeing, in managing, in playing. So if you want to do it, just get in touch with either your local club or your county FA.
Are you happy to put yourself out on Twitter if anyone needed advice, a young lady or young woman trying to be a referee? You happy to give advice?
Absolutely. And if anyone, if anyone wants to contact me, they can. I mean, in any way, shape, or form. And if anyone, if there's a young referee that would like to be mentored, then I'm quite happy to come in.
Fantastic.
And, give some.
Thank you, Michelle. I pushed you in that little one, but I know you would have volunteered yourself anyway, mate. But thank you very much for that. Right, Tammy, on to you. How are we going to get better lady footballers rising up the ranks so they can play for West Ham United?
Well, the infrastructure that the FA have got in place for young elite players now is better than what it's ever been. So I don't think that's necessarily a problem. It is getting the grassroots kind of right, and again, it's the support that the men's clubs, how can they embrace their women's team more? So if you're doing a pre-season photograph shoot with the kit, can you include some of your women? Could you do a joint photo shoot? If you're interviewing a volunteer for a role, can you be promoting some of the roles within the women's section as well? For me, more needs to be done to marry up and support the clubs. If you can't give money, that's fine, because money is hard to come by, but there's a lot more support that male clubs could be giving their female teams to kind of help them on their way.
Tammy, fantastic. Matty, I do really appreciate it. I put you on the spot as soon as you come on. I should have said about the successes, and I'm going to say it now. Liverpool ladies manager, Liverpool women's manager, Chelsea women's manager, West Ham women's manager. So who's the American club that you manage as well, Matt?
Boston Breakers.
Right. Okay. So fantastic, mate, and you're doing a great job. And me and Gary really appreciate the fact you coming on the show. You could have been doing other things, having a curry on a Friday night with the family. And that, I think they're probably all listening to you anyway. Hopefully, some of your West Ham ladies are listening in tonight, because we want as much connection from top of the ladies' game or women's game down to the bottom end, and you're giving us that in abundance from what you've achieved yourself. Could you give a little bit of wisdom, last bit of wisdom, before we wrap the show up?
I'll just echo what the girls say, really. As I said many times tonight, on the show, that I think it's important that people put themselves out there and maybe give their own time up to try and progress in the game. And, for me, I've made a lot of sacrifices working in women's football. At times it's cost me money, So at the end of the day, it's great to see the growth over the years, and long may it continue.
Matt Beard, you're a top man. Thank you very so much tonight. Gary, would you like to wrap the show up?
Well, once again, thank you, Matt, for coming on the show. Thank you very much for your time. And not most importantly, thank you very much for the ladies that have come. Tammy, thank you very much. Sally, Michelle, and Kelly, thank you very much for your time. I hope we've helped you. Well, I hope we've helped tonight anyway. We are a little bit dinosaurs. You might have realised that before once you've met us. But we do like to learn, and we are willing to learn. And I hope we have helped tonight for you ladies to progress in all your whatever you're doing and get the game going forward as much as it is for the women's football.
Can I add to that, Sally? Just let me know. I was a typical stereotype that hated women's football. I did not think it was good enough. Matt, don't kill me, mate. But I didn't. But I've watched the more professional type of the women's game now, and I quite enjoyed it, and they are getting better. So there you go. I'm a bit of a converter. Plus, Merstham ladies, got to give them a shout out. They're building. They're a young club, sort of building up a ladies unit down there. So I want to give them a shout out. So any ladies or young women footballers that want to join Merstham ladies, I've given them the shout out. Down to you, Sally. Apologies, I cut in there. Had to say it.
I just wanted to say it's been great to be on the show. Thanks for hosting the topic. And Michelle, happy to if anyone wants to reach out to me directly, more than happy to do that, as I'm sure others are on the call.
Fantastic. Gary, come on, just.
Well, thank you very much. We won't stop you anymore. We'll let you get back to what you're doing, and all the best and for the future. And thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks,
Good
Matthew.
night, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, everyone. You were brilliant, superb, the best ever we've ever had. Yeah, the best ever, yeah.